Let's go to Stephen Dorrell, former chair of the NHS Confederation. Stephen, sorry to keep you waiting. It's a couple of things for you. First day of the NHS doctors' strike. Junior doctors say they want to strike for 5 days. Also news from Rishi Sunak that he's going to give a briefing in which 6% will be given to all public sector workers, including doctors. You may not know the answer to this. I'm assuming this won't affect the 5-day walkout.
Well, I assume not. I don't know the answer because you've only just told me what Rishi Sunak's going to say.
Right.
What I do know is that the government has had for some time the recommendations of the pay review body for doctors' and nurses' pay. If what you're saying is that the government are planning to accept the recommendations of the review body, I welcome that, and I do think that's an important step in the pay disputes with both with the junior doctors and with the consultants.
Yes, and also apparently with teachers as well. I know that's not quite in your wheelhouse, but I mean, it's all very well saying we've got some more money for you, but where are they going to get the money from? They keep telling us they haven't got any.
Well, that's of course precisely why the review bodies were set up, actually in the Thatcher administration, to give independent advice to ministers about what was the right answer for pay for different groups. But the government reserves the right and the responsibility to make the final decision precisely for the reason you give, that in order to deliver public services, you have to ensure that public servants are properly paid. You can't will the end of good public services without willing the means of paying the people.
But I don't think most people would think that junior doctors' average pay of $128,000 a year is not properly paid.
I don't think the average pay of junior doctors is $128,000.
It is.
No, that's not right.
Well, what is it then?
Average pay of junior doctors is, there are certainly junior doctors who are paid $128, you're right. But the average pay of junior doctors is not $128,000.
Well, that's my information, and they can make an awful lot more, of course, in the private sector in addition to that. So they can probably double that. And what we don't get told, and what we don't, let's not forget as well, the BMA do not represent all doctors. The BMA is a sort of, slightly extremist fringe organisation, which is a trade union, which not every doctor agrees with, in the same way that the Royal College of Nursing doesn't represent all nurses. And an awful lot of nurses did not go on strike. 50% of the country didn't go on strike as nurses. So, we have to be careful not to give out false information, Stephen.
As quite often, Mike, in conversations with you, we have to unpack one or two things. I agree with you that the BMA, and as indeed the Royal College of Nursing, performs the function of a trade union. I get that. I agree with it. But don't forget, I've sat on the opposite side of the table when they've been doing precisely that. I also think it's true that all the evidence is that the BMA is currently speaking for the great majority, both of junior doctors and of consultants. And I'd ask you just to look again at the statistic you quoted, because junior doctors, I do not believe the average remuneration of a junior doctor, that's to say a newly qualified or as yet...
No, you're wrong, because junior doctors covers people who are not just newly qualified, it covers them all the way up to before they become consultants. So that's why the figure is correct, it's 128,000. But I've got to run because Rishi Sunak apparently is going to give them even more money that I've had to work very hard to make. For heaven's sake, Stephen Dorrell, thank you very much indeed.